Hey guys, welcome back to Basis Sport Addicts, episode 52. Today we don't have Ethan, but we got a special guest, my youth pastor. He's going to be on. But today we got a lot to talk about. Baseball, football, hockey, NBA, and a lot of baseball and a lot of Tiger talk. So it's going to be a good one. Yeah. Woo. Hey guys, we got special guest, Jack. And we got... What's your name?
Jack Janigian.
Hey, welcome, Jack. Glad to have you on, man.
Oh, it's good to be here, buddy. Good to see the setup. You guys got quite the thing going here, man.
Thank you. Fortunately, Ethan couldn't make it, but he was bummed. But yeah, we'll have fun right now. So we'll start off with favorite movie. Off the top of your...
Are we going just any movie? Or are we going a sports movie?
Bit. You could do one sport and then one actual movie.
My favorite movie of all time is The Greatest Showman still. So
Really?
I've seen it so many times. I love it. Still listen to the music. And favorite sports movie, man, I kind of rotate around, but I think Remember the Titans is such a classic.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's hard to beat, and it's pretty true to the story. I mean, you can find some TikToks that'll tell you otherwise, but when you really look at it, they got the numbers and just some of the final scores they mess with a little bit.
Really?
So yeah,
that's sweet. I actually have never seen Greatest Showman. That's actually true.
Wow,
I do need to watch it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I've seen some of the songs. I know the songs are good, but I've just never seen it yet.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. All right, next one we got favorite sports moment, both in person and then, watching on TV.
You know what? Probably I was there for the last game ever at Tiger Stadium. That was pretty cool. But I would say the Maglio home run in 2006, being there.
You were there in person?
Yeah. That was probably my greatest sports moment ever.
That's sick.
And then the first Michigan game where they in the streak of 4 straight years of beating Ohio State, I was at that game too.
Really? That's awesome.
That was an unbelievable game in the snow. Everybody on the field after that was special. So I got a couple good ones. Yeah, kind of beat some good games, but
that's cool.
And man, as far as like just watching. I don't know. Maybe I'll just say it hasn't happened. It's going to be when the Lions win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yes.
Because I won't be at that game because I would have to mortgage my house to buy a ticket to that. But I just anything Tigers and Lions related, I'm in.
Oh yeah. Close for me is like when the Lions won it, the first playoff game. That was sick.
It was.
I had a bunch of friends over. That was really cool.
That was a fantastic time, a fantastic moment, certainly. And hopefully it just keeps getting better. But we'll see what happens. We're still a little ways away, but I'm already excited for football season.
Yeah. Who are you looking forward to face first game?
I don't know. I kind of wondered if we were going to get Philly in that first game on that Thursday night because we do play Philadelphia next season. Mm-hmm. So as I looked at the schedule, I could see, like when we played the Chiefs last year, I could see the Lions getting the Eagles right out of the gates.
Yeah, I feel like the other choice is like Commanders, but Lions, I think that's just a better game overall.
Yeah.
It really is. I would be sick. That's why I was wanting the Eagles to win it, mainly. But we also had Chiefs away, so... But yeah, I'm excited for whoever we play, I'm fine. People are saying Bears week 1. Sunday night, but just to see Ben Johnson already. But
that's the only draw to that. I mean, and the Bears are looking up, man. They're making some good signings on their O line, so we'll see what the next couple of weeks hold as free agency gets going.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that. And then last one, favorite Lion and Tiger. We could do old and then current.
Okay. Wow. Well, going back, my favorite Tiger of all time is Alan Trammell. Okay. So Alan Trammell guy, and then I loved Pudge during that, the 2000.
Yeah, we got bobblehead Pudge right there.
Oh yeah, I got bobblehead Pudge. But currently, I don't know if you're allowed to have this as your favorite Tiger. But do you know who my favorite Tiger is?
I feel like
It's Tyler Holton.
Honestly, he's my second favorite.
I love Tyler Holton. People are like, you can't have a relief pitcher as your favorite Tiger. So, man, I just love. I mean, I'm a Kerry guy like you too, but Tyler Holton's my man. So, and Lions, all time. I mean, I grew up with Barry, and so it's hard to go against Barry. But currently, man, I love Panay. It's like it's the first time I've ever caught myself watching the right tackle during a play. So,
Right?
like, I'll go back and I'll watch, like, him just dominate. So, and the fact that he's, man, how old is he? He's still, like,
24.
yeah, he's
It is
still,
crazy.
I mean, we're in such a good era right now. I mean, the stars that we have in Detroit at 25 and under, between Riley Green, Jameer Gibbs, Panay, Hutch, and Cade Cunningham. I mean, we're loaded up right now in Detroit. So, yeah, I have some good options.
Yeah, those are. Yeah, honestly, Holton is my second favorite Tiger other than Kerry.
Yeah.
I'm getting a jersey of him soon, but.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I've liked him as soon as his rookie year. I wanted him to be an all-star. When we sent out Lorenzen, I was like, please. I think I told you this. I wanted Tyler Holton instead of him, but yeah.
Dude, and the way he grinded last August and September, I mean, like, they were throwing him out there every day. And he ran out of gas a little bit in the playoffs, but, I mean, they used him in such a great way, and it was fun to watch. And he competed every time he was on the mound.
Yeah, and his excitement, too. School, it's exciting to see.
Indeed.
So I think my favorite Tiger is Kerry. No surprise there.
And I do love Tariq Skubal too.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been following Skubal since the Tigers drafted him out of Seattle, and so I mean, literally went to the University of Seattle, which I didn't even know was a real school. But when they drafted him, I was like, back then, I mean, you're in one of my sports rants groups. I mean, you can go back to when they first drafted him. I'm like, watch this guy named Tariq Skubal. And everybody thought I was crazy because we got him in the 4th or 5th round. And I'm like, just watch, because this guy, even in college, he was striking out 2.5 guys an inning in college. And so I'm like, there's something about a guy that throws with that kind of velocity and has that kind of command of the strike zone. And he did that all the way through the minors until they brought him up.
Yeah. And it's cool to see him, was it 4th round, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're expecting the Tiger rotation, Mize and Manning and all these guys, you don't think Scoob will be that top of it.
No.
But, yeah, it's cool to see.
Getting it done.
Yeah. All right, we'll start with NFL real quick. All these bunch of releasings and trades and extending guys. It's crazy.
Well, NFL is just weird that way. You don't see that in any other sports, but it's because of the salary cap and because of non-guaranteed contracts in the NFL. I mean, outside of that terrible Deshaun Watson contract, but all the rest of the contracts, teams will move on from really good players, and it's the only sport where that happens. And so, yeah. I mean, obviously, having guys like Bosa and Lockett and Adams available right now is wild. Yeah. And it's just going to make the start of free agency next week just be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. For the Lions, who would you want out of the three? You got Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett, and Joey Bosa.
Well, I mean, I think Bosa's going to I think he's going to go play with his brother.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Yeah, it makes too much sense. I'm like, you just don't get that opportunity to do that. I mean, you got to play baseball with your brothers growing up. It's like it's like that. But with if you get a chance at the professional level to play with your brother, you can't turn that down. Yeah. And Myles Garrett, that's the guy who I would want, but. Are the Browns really going to trade him? I mean, is that really going to happen? Yeah. I think I think if they do trade him, it's not going to happen until the preseason is going. If he holds out, I don't see them trading him now. Do you? No. So he can demand a trade all they want, but it's still the ball's in their court. They got to figure out if they're willing to give him up or not. I don't see them making that move, but if he holds out come August, then all of a sudden the price goes down a little bit. There's that opportunity. I would love to have him. I think Trey Hendrickson is more of a realistic opportunity because he's right out there, and he's not going to cost what Myles Garrett's going to cost either.
Yeah, and he led the league in sacks this year. But you know what?
Well, that's the other weird thing about NFL trades. You got a guy like Trey Hendrickson. You think, man, what's that going to cost you? It's like I'm hearing like a 3rd and 4th round pick.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, yes, please. We'll take him for that because the Lions obviously are in a win now mode.
Oh yeah.
For all these years that we've kind of said, we don't want to trade our draft picks, they're too valuable, and they're still valuable in the hands of Brad Holmes. That being said, now's the time to win. And then stockpile picks. Let's go get somebody that we think can take us over the hump.
That's the only reason it's kind of sketchy, just because Brad Holmes brings so many guys in. Brian Branch, 2nd round, all these guys. late round picks that he just turns into studs, like that he chooses. Like it's crazy to see.
And I was questioned by a couple guys with the Lions' recent signings this week, and they're re-signing some guys, and some people didn't like the $25 million. Like, what are they doing? And I just keep responding with, and Brad, I trust. Like right now, he's given me no reason to question any of his moves, really, and no GM's going to be perfect, especially not in the NFL. You're going to have some swings and misses, but man, his percentage of swings and misses is very low, and so not necessarily the moves that I would have wanted them to make right now, with Barnes and even Davenport today, but. Yeah, still that being the case, like I still say, okay, well, let him prove us wrong, because Brad Holmes continues to do that. Who wanted them to take Jahmyr Gibbs? Nobody.
Yeah.
Like everybody hated that pick, but it's like, that was a good pick.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna bring up next was the Jahmyr Gibbs pick. Obviously everybody didn't want that, but
he time and time again, he's just showing us that he knows what he's doing, and he's doing it better than anybody else in the league. So
yeah, it's impressive. And it's cool seeing Lions do all this too. But so did you hear that Kirk Cousins told Falcons that he did not want to play for them? Like he wanted to start. Yeah. Obviously I like Kirk. He spoke at our church.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to actually start, but I'm not sure how much he has in the tank.
Yeah, but and I think that's why he wants to start, and he's a competitor. I mean, and you look at his career trajectory, he's been unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, he did things that nobody expected him to do. When he got drafted by the Redskins, now the Commanders, when he got drafted by the Redskins, I mean, they drafted him in the 4th round. He was the second quarterback they took in that draft. They took RG3, and they traded all their picks to get RG3. And, their next pick they had in the draft was Kirk Cousins. And people in Washington are like, what in the world? And then Kirk Cousins ended up being a way better pro than RG3. And he's always proved people wrong everywhere he's been. And so... if he wants to make one more run at it, I get it. I was texting with his one of his college roommates recently, and I'm like, "Where's he going to be?" And, I think it's going to end up being Cleveland. If you had to pin me to a guess right now.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, which is funny with Deshaun there, and we just talked about Deshaun, but I think that's a realistic spot where he can go and start. I think Sam Darnold's going to the Seahawks.
I don't think he's going back to the Vikings. I think they should. He got them 14 wins.
Yeah.
It's tough, but McCarthy, I'm not sure how much better they're going to be with McCarthy, though,
Oh, I understand.
I'm not a big McCarthy guy.
I'm not at all. Okay. Yeah, I as far as I don't think he's necessarily ready. I think he's going to be a good pro, but I'm here's a guy that's been out of football for a full year now. Yeah. I think he needs another year under a guy where he's actually in practice, he's competing. To throw him to the Wolves right now, I mean, I think you'll see Minnesota sign another quarterback to come alongside him again, but I don't think it'll be Sam Darnold with all the talk and with the Seahawks making that trade yesterday. I think Sam Darnold, they can't talk to Sam Darnold yet, but I'm sure there's been some behind the scenes conversations. There's a reason they made that trade. They can't just go out and trade their starting quarterback for a 3rd round pick without knowing they have something coming in the back door.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But Barkley, he deserves. I mean, 2-year extension, $41 million, crazy.
Yeah.
He's so good last year, and with that offensive line, DeAndre Swift looked really good too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so getting a guy like that back there again. Not a big Eagles fan. I do not like them, but I always beef with Cooper with this. I always hate him because when the Lions were good, I feel like the Eagles kept getting wins after wins from the refs. That was their year that they were 9-0 and did not. It felt like the Chiefs of last year. I don't know. So I've always had beef with them.
Eagles fans last year, the whole first half of the year, they were fire the coach, fire the coach. Mm-hmm. We don't want Sirianni. And it's okay, Super Bowl chance.
Yeah, I will take him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then another guy, Max Crosby. Wow, weird. 3-year, $106 million extension.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. That's the pipe dream for every Lions fan. But that's just kind of a done deal. He could be a guy that comes to Detroit, similar to guys who have ended their career. Like T.J. Lang came to play for the Lions like at the end of his career. You know, John Jansen played for the Lions at the end of his career. Like he could be one of those guys that comes home for his last contract, but it's not going to be in his prime. He's going to be with the Raiders.
That's going to stink. Yeah, he does have Raider tattooed on him, so like, so I don't know what we were kind of expecting, but
yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, DK and all this thing, the whole Seahawks, crazy. DK requesting a trade and releasing Lockett, their whole wide receiver room was gone.
And that's where I'm like, if Sam Darnold does end up there, like on a team with no wide receivers and a bad offensive line, I think he's gonna revert to New York Jets Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we saw the very worst of Sam Darnold at the end of the season last year, and I think that's the Sam Darnold. Like when you're not throwing the ball up to Jay Jetta every time, like, you know, and Jordan Addison's your number 2, and behind that offensive line, like they had pieces. T.J. Hawkinson, you know, I think I could play quarterback for the Vikings and look okay. But the reality is, I think Sam Darnold's going to have a tough time if Seattle's where he ends up. I just don't see them having the pieces. You know, Jackson Smith, you know, is like he can only do so much. You know, and like, you know, they got like average running backs at best. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird situation for him.
Yeah.
But he should stay in Minnesota. That's just what he should do. But
he should, but he's not going to.
Probably not.
He's going to take the money, and the Minnesota's not going to give him a 3-4 year deal because they want JJ. Yeah. They want JJ to be the quarterback, you know. And Sam Darnold's credit, he shouldn't come and play for Minnesota for a 1-year deal. He should go get the money while he can. You know, teams aren't loyal to the players. Why should players be loyal to the team? You know, go get your money while you can. And if Seattle wants to give him $40 million a year, he needs to take $40 million a year to go play for Seattle.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like, we'll talk about Bergman later. That's kind of like the same situation. But struck a nerve right there.
Hey, well, you're wearing a Red Sox jersey, bro. So, like, you're going to talk about Bregman while you're wearing a Red Sox jersey.
It's actually Astros.
Oh, is it Astros? I just assumed.
Which is worse.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I tried out New Jersey today. But, yeah, first, before we get into new sports, we had Bryce Underwood's cousin on the podcast.
I saw that.
Yeah, he said that he's probably going to stay and he's going to go to Michigan, which was crazy. And then he actually did.
Yeah.
So... yeah, that was pretty cool.
Hey, I'm looking forward to big things from Michigan, and I think you know, there's some questions on who's going to be the starting quarterback, you know, because they got a couple guys in the room, but it's going to be Underwood.
Yeah, it's got to be.
There's nothing else they can do. Like, the fans will go crazy if there's anybody else behind center on day one than Bryce.
Mm-hmm. And this 4-year Ohio State Michigan is going to continue. If that's the case.
Yeah, we're about to cross 2,000 days since Ohio State last beat Michigan. By the time the season starts next year, so that'll be fun to keep that streak going, and we'll see. I mean, Ohio State's going to be good every year, you know, but right now they got a mental hurdle that they can't seem to get over. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason Michigan should have won that game this year.
That was wild.
Yeah.
My Ethan, he predicted it before the game, like the week before. He said Michigan's going to win, but he always has crazy stuff. He's biased a little bit.
He's a little bit of a homer.
Yeah. That's what we do here.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we had 2/3 pick schoolboy Cy Young last year.
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't, but I said Kevin Gossman.
That didn't work out so well.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, next up, we got NBA, man. Pistons. What a turnaround they've had.
It's been a lot of fun, you know, and obviously you got to look at Bickerstaff for NBA Coach of the Year right now. I think it's, you know, I think it's that award's going to either Cleveland or Detroit. You know, the Coach of the Year is going to be in our division one way or the other. But the job that Bickerstaff has done and Trajan Langdon and putting this roster together, but watching Cade Cunningham take that next leap, you know. You know, I've asked this question a couple times. I'll ask you right now. Like I said, if you took all the players in the NBA and you made them all free agents right now, and then you had a draft with their age in mind and everything, like where would you go? And I look at it and I'm like, Cade's a top 10 pick, you know, and I wouldn't have said that before the season started.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at some guys like I would still take Wemby first overall, even with his injury.
Yeah.
I would still like a guy like Luka and SGA, and even
Edwards.
Ant would be right there. I mean, they're close though, closer than I ever thought they'd be. Anthony Edwards. You got Jokic, and there's some things that you can't coach with height, but Cade is right there.
He is.
Like
so
he's
good.
in that conversation of being a star in the NBA, and so we're gonna get to watch playoff basketball this year.
That's awesome.
And it's been a minute, and if we're up against the Knicks, like I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take
even the Pacers. I'm okay with.
I'll take the Pacers.
Yeah.
I don't really want to play Milwaukee in the first round. If we end up in that 4-5 series, like they seem to always have our number. But we're in the conversation. I don't want to be in the play-in, so we won't have to be in the play-in if we continue the way we're going. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And what Beasley's done is insane, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's breaking records right now.
He is.
Off the bench, which is crazy.
Yeah, and to see him... And I was shocked. Did you see whose record he passed up for three-pointers in the season from the Pistons?
Sadiq Bey.
Sadiq Bey. Yeah, you guys talked about that on your last episode. Yeah, I was like, Sadiq Bey, really? That's what the Pistons had to offer? I mean, I thought we were going to go back to like Joe Dumars or somebody cool, or Chauncey or something. Like, not Sadiq Bey. So, yeah, but again, when you look at that and what Beasley's been off the bench is phenomenal. I don't like him how he's been starting the last couple of games. Like,
yeah, he's been struggling.
He has, and that's not his place to be.
Yeah.
He needs to come off the bench for us. And he's in the talks for Sixth Man of the Year too.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
that'd be a lot of fun.
And with like Tobias going, he's back, but Jaden Ivey, that one hurt badly, and we just felt like it didn't even hurt us at all.
I know. And think about what this team will be like when Ivy gets back.
Yeah.
If he gets back here towards the end of the season, and that could be a huge pick-me-up for this team and this roster. But the continuing development of these guys is what I've been really impressed with. We're seeing Duran take the next step. We're seeing Isaiah Stewart even. Like I was kind of done with Isaiah Stewart, quite honestly. And to see him taking that next step into being a legitimate NBA big man, like for us, he's still best as like 6th, 7th man.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Like he's settled into that role. He comes in, he brings energy, he controls the boards. He's still putting up the same stats. He's not going to be a go-to big man, but he's a solid NBA player. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things really to like about the team right now.
Oh yeah, and Sar's been so good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so athletic.
Well, like the jump he's taken this year,
Yeah.
and he keeps pointing to Bickerstaff. When you hear Asar talk, he points to J.D. Bickerstaff being huge in his individual development because we're looking at him and his brother, last couple of years, like, oh, it looks like we got the worst Thompson, and now it's like, no, maybe we did it. Maybe we got the good one, and he's, and again, like. You hate to have like a defensive specialist in your starting lineup, but he doesn't hurt us on offense, and he shuts down the other team's top players.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, but the only thing that's gonna hurt us is not drafting Halliburton, and that's getting Killian Hayes instead of him is kind of gonna.
How about Killian Hayes? He's starting in the NBA again.
He started against us in his first shot. Was like an air ball.
Oh yeah, I was like, man, that's honestly one of the worst. I mean, and again, I really thought the previous management was going to be good. Like, I was excited about Troy Weaver, and like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, man, we got, like, 15 draft picks, and he was, like, trading in the draft. He was doing, like, all the things that we would want to do if we were in charge. Yeah. Like, oh, man, he's trading for another first-round pick, and, like, oh, man, we got Sadiq Bey, and then, like, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this isn't so good.
Killian Hayes.
Yeah, Killian Hayes. Disaster.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's starting somewhere.
Yep.
Not so that bad that he's starting.
No.
But it's impressive. But anything else about Pistons? I mean, it's just crazy.
No, it's just going to be fun to watch the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
so it's fun to actually scoreboard watch in the NBA. Like, I haven't done that. Like, to like, actually look in the schedule and be like, hey, did the Pistons play tonight? Oh, yeah, I can watch that and have something to watch, even though, the Bally Sports Network is still terrible. But that's a discussion for another time. But still watching Pistons games for the first time in a few years and being excited about that is a cool thing.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Tonight's great game.
Yeah.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Pistons. I was at one of the games. They went ESPN and K didn't even play. That was their first ESPN game in like 7 years, and K didn't play. I mean, but that was funny.
It's fun to be in the conversation, and they're talking about the Pistons on ESPN. They're talking about them on national media, so it's fun to be relevant.
Oh yeah, Stephen A. Smith's even talking about us.
Stephen A. Smith loves the Pistons. Yeah, he's calling it like the best story in the NBA. So I hate Stephen A. still, but but hey.
Yeah, especially Detroit. I mean, you got the Tigers and the Redwings have been doing all right. Not lately.
Yeah, it's been a rough stretch.
Yeah, 5 in a row. 5 in a row for Redwings, but
flashbacks to last year with the Redwings.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
I remember that, man. So close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far away.
Yep.
They're out of the playoffs right now, right?
They are. Yeah, they're sitting actually a couple points behind. So they got to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. You know, losing to Utah the other night was just a killer. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And obviously those. I think like the steam got taken out of them in a little bit in that outdoor game. You know, when they outshoot Columbus by 30 shots and still find a way to lose. Granted with the high sticking and all, but regardless, like they gotta break out of this slump. And I don't know, that trading for Peter Mrazek was like the big move that we were all hoping for.
So weird.
Yeah, it was very weird.
And the guy we got first came already fighting.
Yeah.
That is funny. But yeah, the Red Wings struggling, but they got to get DeBrincat and Larkin and Kane, Showtime. Got to get them back to how they usually play.
Yeah, they just need to get back on a streak again. They had a couple big streaks right when we got McClellan in, and it's time to. It just, and that's hockey. That's the nature of hockey. It's a streaky game, and so. But last year we waited too late to have that last good streak, and we missed the playoffs by tie break essentially. And so this year we got to make sure and not wait till the last 3 weeks to try to turn it on.
Yeah, don't do what the Tigers did last year.
No, that'll never happen again. Something like that.
Yeah, that was special. But how cool was that run last year for the Tigers?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite seasons of all time. 2006 will always be like a really special year for me because that was kind of like last year. 2006 came after years and years and years of losing and being irrelevant in the national scene. And then all of a sudden Pudge and Maglio led them to the World Series. Last year felt a little bit like that, out of nowhere, here come the Tigers and people are talking about them and people are watching them and the stadium was filling up. And so, man, we'll see what happens this year, but that run last year was just so fun.
Yeah, I even had people that I didn't even know were baseball fans texting me and stuff. I don't know what that shows, but that it was so cool.
Oh, there's baseball fever for sure. Yeah. Baseball fever.
Yeah, how you've been to a bunch of those games the end of the season, right?
I did. Not it was actually. One of the things when the Tigers are bad, everybody calls me with free tickets, and then all of a sudden they're good, and all of a sudden I wasn't getting as many calls, I was like, hey, where's the love? But it was, it's just so much more fun when the stadium's packed. Yeah. There's nothing like it. And there was obviously baseball fever, in Detroit last September, I haven't seen in a long time. And so I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping for that to come back, but we'll talk Tigers here in a little bit, I'm sure.
Oh, so. Yeah. The last time it felt like the stadium was loud was when we had that no-hitter when Matt Manning. Yeah. I was in attendance. It was the Blue Jays, so there was a lot of fans, but I've never seen a stadium like that packed, in America.
When we had the games when Miggy was getting some of the records, he's going for 3,000, he's going for 500, and the stadium was filled for those games too. But not like this, not like where it was those games like that. The intensity would be great when Miggy was up to bat, but last September it was every at bat, every pitch mattered, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, were you at any of those Miggy games?
Yeah, I for both 3,000 and 500, but I wasn't at the game when you did it. I was in the game leading up to it. Yeah, I missed being a part of any of them, but it was a fun run.
Yeah, I had a few friends at those games. That would have been a cool game to go to.
Absolutely.
Any of those ones. Yeah, were you at the when Vierling dove home and went crazy?
No, I wasn't at that
Oh,
game.
okay.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah,
That's probably my favorite.
That
game.
picture of Yearling standing on the plate is still like my Facebook banner. Like I love
Really?
that picture with the
That's-
crowd just going crazy in the background.
That was probably my favorite game of the season. Just down 3-0. I mean, it's like a 1:00 game, so
Inject that in my
crazy.
veins, man. It was so
So,
good.
Yeah. And then Kerry pinch hit single.
It all comes back to Kerry for you. It always comes back to Kerry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then like even Jay had pinch hitting for Kerry. I mean, didn't like it, but
Yeah, I get it.
yeah. Well, I mean, that was awesome. That was the identity of AJ Hinch in that game right there. Pinch hitting, doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was special to see.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah, so well, before we get into Tigers, let's talk about some of these small Jose Iglesias right here signs with the Padres.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, last year was really special what he did with the Mets.
Yeah. I mean that dude is just stuck around. Like,
Yeah.
and he's made a great MLB career for himself. And everywhere he's gone, he's done well. When you look at his stat line over his long now MLB career, he really hasn't had bad seasons. He's never going to hit for power. He's not going to be a guy who hits 25 home runs for you, but he's also not going to be a guy that, has anything like Javi's done last year.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to be a consistent, 260, 270, gets on base, gets it done with the glove. Good for Jose.
Yeah, he was my Tiger before all the Castros and stuff for a long time.
Can't even believe you brought up the Castros.
Yeah, I had to.
You couldn't resist it.
Yeah, those were my guys. And I saw Harold Castro hitting for the Royals in spring.
Gosh.
Oh my, that's crazy. Willie Castro's still getting it done for the Twins though. He's
Getting it done is a bit of an overstatement.
for the Twins, one of their top hitters when everyone's injured.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets injured for the Twins.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they've been pretty good.
Oh, man.
But yeah, who's been your Tiger before? Get that? Who's been your Tiger like from like 2017 to like 2020-ish era, that area?
Man, I don't know. Like, I just want guys who compete and who show up and are at the park getting the job done. And so we really haven't had a lot of those guys. Those guys that grind and make it happen and that you can count on for consistent at bats. And so and that's why, and you look at like past opening day rosters. I was just scanning at that, recently, in fact, and I was looking at some of these opening day rosters. I'm like, I can't even believe that guy was a major league player, let alone a starter for us on opening day. So I'll fire you some opening day trivia in a little bit here, so we can talk about
then
that.
I'm not gonna say what I'm about to say then. So I'll
Okay,
wait. But
okay.
yeah, yeah, we've had some crazy opening day rosters.
We have. It's been rough.
With like Zimmerman starting a bunch
Dude,
of them.
for anybody who's actually watching this podcast, there's like a life-size Jordan Zimmerman poster around the corner here.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want that in my house.
I
Like,
have no idea why that's there. That must have been a giveaway. There's no way we bought that.
oh, no.
There's no way.
No, nobody would have sold that.
Yeah.
Jordan Zimmerman, I said, he's probably my least favorite Tiger of all time. And that's saying something.
Yeah.
So, that contract was just an albatross.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I remember getting excited for him in like 2015.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, when I was young, I was like, "Ooh, yay!" But no, brutal. Yeah, but man, Tigers spring training is upon us. Yeah, I mean we've had a couple spring training darlings, as they call it, this year. Like last year, they had or a couple years of Badu and.
Yeah.
The story of Akil Badu, that was crazy.
Yeah. To be fair, he was a Rule 5 pick, so he was going to make the roster right out of the gates, and he was good for us when we had nothing good really going. I mean, I'm kind of tired of him. I'm ready for him to go away. Now, the funny thing is, if he was healthy right now, he'd have a shot to make the opening day roster because of his outfield versatility with the injuries we have to Verling and, who else is injured?
Meadows.
Parker
Perez,
Meadows. So,
kinda.
yeah, I think Perez is ready to go, though. So,
Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, the team's been playing well in spring training, and the things that you want to see, like people are like, oh, the Tigers are 4-8, and like, who cares?
No way.
Who cares? Like, none of that matters. Like, things you want to watch. I mean, you look at the starting pitching, and the starting pitching has been unreal.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Like every game, like Jackson Jobe went today. He went 3 2/3 and shut him down and gave up a hit. Like every game, the starters. I mean, even the guys that I don't like Kenta Maeda and Montero's pitched well. I mean, all the starters are pitching well, and they're gonna give some really difficult decisions to the management of this team here in a couple of weeks, because there's a roster that has to be put together, and some guys are going to miss out, and it's also making the Alex Cobb signing look just awful.
That's bad. We have so much depth. I didn't think we need him, and then he gets out.
$15 million, and now, I don't know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
If he comes back in May, obviously we're going to have injuries, and injuries are going to happen in Major League Baseball, but the reality is, I don't want to just throw this guy in there in May. I don't know what you do with that $15 million contract, but we'll see what happens. But how are you feeling about the roster and the makeup right now? Who do you think's gonna grab those last spots?
Oh, I'm excited for that. I first think that Cobb, he literally said he was gonna retire, and then he offered that much money. He's like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of that either. But man, I'm excited. Seeing Clark too. But for the roster, I'm not a Tork guy. I don't think I will.
Yeah, I heard you guys talk about that last episode a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
now it's a little different.
He had a great game yesterday. 2 Tork bombs in the game, and obviously Torkelson's. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. He's a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, this guy's career trajectory has just been kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. He was out of Arizona State. He really only got 2 seasons at Arizona State. So he played 2 years out there. He performed very well. And then 2020 happened, and he got I think he played 15 games at Arizona State that year before their season was canceled. And then he got drafted by the Tigers in 2020, and then he didn't get to play the rest of that year because of that. And then came up through the minors quickly and brought up probably a little sooner than he should have, and had a really good year, 30 home run year. But then, he's been a disappointment.
Yeah. That
being said, I don't know what there's to gain by putting him in Toledo. If you asked me a week ago, I had him in Toledo and Jahan, and I love Justin Henry Malloy. I'm a Jahan guy, but I think they both find a way onto this roster for opening day, and so which is kind of crazy, but we're gonna see this next 10 days is the most pivotal 10 days potentially of Tork's whole career.
Yeah.
And so he's got to show that he can perform at a high level, and then he can consistently have good at-bats where he's not chasing stuff. He's not swinging at sliders low and away the Baez sliders.
Yeah.
And Torkelson doesn't even have a strikeout problem. He just has a pop-out problem.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
terrible.
It is.
Missing fastballs down the middle, too.
What's he going to do with a runner on third and less than 2 outs? Is he consistently getting that runner home? Mm-hmm. Is he having good at-bats against the good pitching, in the first couple innings? I don't really care about his third and fourth at-bats because he's going against what's he doing with his first 2 at-bats in every preseason game? And so they started him down in 8th in the lineup. I think what you're going to see the next couple of days, you're going to see Tork batting 3rd, 4th, 5th, to guarantee him better at-bats against good teams. He's not going to bat 3rd, 4th, or 5th for the Tigers this year. If he makes our roster, he's batting 7th or 8th. But I think there's a spot for him as the DH, as a once-a-week first baseman, as a right-handed pinch hitter off the bench, which, they don't have. I think there's a spot for Torkelson on this team this year right out of the gates, because I don't know what he has to gain from another 40-game stint in Toledo.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But, Tork, he's got guys. Wait. Spencer Torkelson, these definitely have nothing to prove in Toledo. Last year, there was nothing.
He's done it twice. Yeah, they sent him down twice for extended, and he's done fine there. And I would have loved if he came up last year and just tore the cover of the ball, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He did make a lot of changes in his swing this offseason.
Yeah, he looks different.
He looks different. You look at his at-bat side by side, they're very different, and his strikeout rate's been fine. But again, he hasn't faced – that's what I'm saying. The next 10 days. I would have loved to have seen them put him right back out there today. He didn't start today.
Yeah, especially lefty, because this is kind of where we're going to see him for this year against lefties.
Right, and so I wanted to see him out in the lineup again today. But I'm sure he's going to be in the lineup tomorrow and the next – and so let's see what happens in the next 10 days. I think right now, I think, he's batting like 350 this spring. He's got the 3 home runs. He's got
2 against Dean Kramer.
So
that's actually weird.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see what happens, I think Jahan is going to have a real chance to be on this team as well. Obviously, I think him and you can see him and Kerry Carpenter is kind of tied together, which I want Kerry to bat against. I want him to bat against more lefties this year. I think they need to give him that shot. You can't have your cleanup hitter who just can't play against 30% of the pitchers.
There has been many opportunities against lefties this spring. So there's been like 2 games. Yeah. But we put him out there. He got a hit. So that's promising.
Yeah.
But he's a lot more work for Kerry. And he said he wanted to play DH. So that definitely means he won't
But like yesterday, they put him in right field, and they had Tork at DH and they had Kerry in right field. So, and with the injuries, again, if we're going to, talk about Meadows, potentially starting on the DL, which will be killer for us. I really hope that doesn't happen, and we're going to see again the next week. Can he come back and get back to baseball-related activities in the next week? If he can't, then he's going to start on the DL or start in Toledo and get some at-bats there. So this next week's huge for that. But then I think we're ended up with one Seal in center, which isn't ideal. Yeah. I don't think they're going to move Riley Green back over there.
You can't do that.
And so it'll be one Seal in center. You're going to maybe see some Zach McKinstry in center, which would be something to see. I've also been interested to see the last couple of days they've had Ryan Kreidler.
Yeah, they're trying to put him in this roster. They're trying to find a way for him, but
they've been trying for years.
He just can't hit.
No. But I think again, and I've seen some people. I've seen some roster projections. I saw one on MLive the other day that had Jemani Jones in center, which I honestly want no part of that.
Yeah, he's not very good defensively too. So,
and he's never shown anything special offensively. Like if he goes down to Toledo and tears it up, okay, sure, give the kid a shot. But I don't need to see that. I feel like that's just walking down a road that we've tried before with these reclamation projects that have never really worked out for us. So, if we're starting with Seal, we're starting with Tork off the bench, Jahan, obviously McKinstry. I think that's your. And then the question is, and then you got Ibanez. So what happens when Meadows comes back then? Like, which of those guys gets the short end of the stick? I think we might see the end of Andy Ibanez. And so some people love Ibanez. I'm just not that guy.
I like him off against lefty. I feel like right now while Veerling's gone, he's like the platoon at third base with Young. So like what he did against Josh Hader, like it's gonna keep him there for a little bit just for Tiger fans, but
but at the same time, I think Andy Ibanez is Willie Castro 2.0, like, a guy that's he's a 4A player. Like he's not quite good enough to be a major league player, but he's better than Toledo. And when it comes down to it, like who do I rather see on this roster between Jahan and Ibanez? For me, I think there's a higher ceiling with Justin Henry Malloy. Like I think we've seen Ibanez a ceiling. We've seen the very best that he has to offer. And I think there's other guys that I want to see what the best they have to offer is. I want to see Justin Henry Malloy on the roster for an entire season and see how he produces. He's never had that. Yeah. He's never been given that opportunity, and I think he's got the tools, and he's an on-base guy, which if we're going to be true to who AJ Hinch is, he should love that.
Yeah. I mean, Malloy, he was very good in the playoffs. Like nobody really thinks of that, but he was 5 for 8, which is very impressive. Small sample size, but
he took advantage of the opportunities they gave him.
I mean, he had a double off Clase.
Yeah.
So you can't just do it just against lefties. You can do it against both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with Kerry against Clase. Had to bring in Kerry there. Yeah. Do you remember where you were during that home run? That Kerry Carpenter home run?
Man, I can't remember if that's one of the games. I think I was up at Art and Jake's sports bar in Livonia, so Northville.
Okay.
Yeah, with a big group of people. Yeah, I was, in fact. Yeah, that was an unbelievable moment.
Yeah, that place went crazy. I mean, for me, I was here. I mean, I got 50 texts from people, like
unreal.
Everyone. Yeah. And then for the Ibanez, I remember where I was for the Ibanez one. I was coming home from Houston on the plane. We got out, and there was like 15 Tiger fans watching the TV at some like one of the bars in the airport. We all just freaked out. All like the waitresses and stuff were so confused. Oh yeah, that was awesome. And then I listened to when we won the the wild card in the car. Hearing Dan Dickerson's call was awesome.
So what are you thinking for the bullpen then?
I think it's pretty sad. My friend Ethan, he thinks Brant Herter should get it. I think it's.
Herter,
I think today. Like,
Herter did not help himself today.
Not today. 5 runs was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he gave up those runs from Jobe, I was gonna be so mad. But it was like it's got to be like the main. We have like Brisky, Holton, Canely, Vest, Foley. Those are like the locks, and then between like Brebbia, Chafin, Gunther, and then those guys like Chafin looked good yesterday. Got rocking a huge beard.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
I think Chafin's going to be in, and I think Hannafy will be out. I unfortunately think Gunther's going to be out. And I like him and again, some of those guys, like, man, they did nothing ever in the minors and then came and, like, were miracle pitchers for us last year. And so their opportunity's going to be there when it all comes around. I also think Mize is going to be in our bullpen.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
so
said.
they're not going to cut him. And he's pitched well this spring. He's actually picked up a couple MPH on his. I
think it's 3, right? He's
yeah,
up to 92.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah.
But man, I don't see how you build this rotation. I mean, you got the 3 locks.
Yeah.
You got Scooble. You got Flaherty. You got Olsen. They're in. And then you got those 2 spots.
I think it's not really. I think it's obvious. I think it's Jobe and Mize. That's what I'm thinking. Mize looks good this spring.
So that's where I'm at. That is not where like any of like the Tigers writers are at.
Really?
So when I'm seeing them, they all like it's a mixture. I haven't seen anybody, including Mize, which I think is wild because he's had an unbelievable spring. And here's we have the best pitching coach in all baseball.
That's amazing.
And I would say this, to combine sports, I had told somebody, like, if I had the choice, and somebody asked me this last year, if I had the choice
I think it was me.
between keeping Chris Fetter or keeping Ben Johnson, and like keeping both of our Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. If I have to choose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn or Chris Fetter, I'm taking Chris Fetter. Like, and that's not just because I love the Tigers. It's like because I think he's that big of a difference maker in that position. And to see what he did with our bullpen last year was unbelievable. I mean, but a guy like Casey Mize is coming. He's throwing 97, 98. Like, he was throwing 93 last year. And that doesn't happen at this point of your career. To like be throwing that much harder. His slider's 4 miles an hour faster than it was last year. Like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I know that Fetter and Mize were very closely connected all off season, and so Mize, whatever it is, he's bought in, and I think he's ready. He's ready to take that next step and be given that spot. And I don't know how you don't give it to Jobe.
Yeah, you have to. He looks so good.
I didn't think it would be Jobe coming into the spring. And I really didn't think. I thought they're going to keep Jobe in Toledo. They're going to dial his innings down. They'll bring him up in August again, and then he'll be full-time on the team in 2026. He looks so good.
He's so good.
He looks so good.
99 by Vlad today. 3 fastballs down the middle, and he struck out Vlad. Crazy.
I don't know what they're going to do with Cobb when he comes back.
It really is.
And that rotation in Toledo is going to be silly good, too, though. We're going to have, like, the best Toledo rotation because you're going to have Montero, who was a starter for us all last year, like, in Toledo. Like, he was, like the guy that was, like, about the most consistent starter we had as far as just like taking the ball every 5 days, besides Scooble, obviously, but it was like Scooble Montero for that whole stretch. And then you're going to have Ty Madden down there. You're going to still have Matt Manning down there. Like you're going to have some starters in that Toledo rotation that would be kind of fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Definitely going to some Mud Hens game in that case then.
It'll be next man up, obviously, and they're all going to be competing for that spot. I mean, Matt Manning, it's just kind of been sad to watch, though. I mean, that was a guy. He was a starter for us in 2021, 22, and 23. Like, all 3 of those years, he was in our rotation. And now he's just kind of the forgotten man.
Now he's the rain delay guy.
Oh, and he's been brutal this spring, too. And they're not starting him. They're bringing him in the 4th or 5th inning. So he's not even facing major league batters. And he's getting hit. So
that's brutal.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy, but
he's a nice guy,
Yeah,
he's very nice.
I think it's those 5. I think Jobe and Mize is exactly how it's going to turn out. And do they go maybe occasionally throw Maeda in there and give Jobe, every 4 times through the rotation, like a time off? You could see something like that happen, just to limit his innings and make sure he stays healthy. Because he'll be on an innings limit for sure.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm skeptical about getting him Rookie of the Year. Like, people think Jobe Rookie of the Year, but is he gonna pitch enough? That's the only.
That's such a hard position to win Rookie of the Year from. I mean, that's why you see so few pitchers do it, because you talk about guys who's gonna have an innings limit, and quite honestly, if you have a bad game as a rookie hitter, you're right back in there the next day. As a rookie pitcher, you got to wait 5 days. You might, in his case, he might have sometimes he has to wait 10 days if they start skipping him. So, I wouldn't be penciling him in for Rookie of the Year quite yet, but I think he's going to make the team, which is super exciting.
Oh yeah, that's Comerica's going to be cool. Maybe he can get the Dodgers start, which would be cool, but most likely not though. But it would be cool to see his major league debut pitching starting against the Dodgers.
Well, I've been not necessarily the biggest Jobe fan all the way through the minors, because he was our first round draft pick that year that I really thought the Tigers needed a shortstop, and you had 2 great shortstops in that draft. You had Marcelo Mayer, you had Jordan Lawler, in the Red Sox organization, and you had those 2 guys. I'm like, oh man, they were out of high school, and they're both still high end, top 25 major league prospects as we sit here today. But the reality is, at some point, Jobe he took that next step, and high school arms in the draft typically are super undependable long term. You're playing the lottery, but it seems like the Tigers might have won that lottery pick with Jackson Jobe.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of high school guys drafted. Max Clark, Riley Green.
Yeah.
These guys. How excited are you for Max Clark?
I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, when they drafted him, he wasn't even necessarily the guy I wanted. I remember you were excited about him. I remember my son was excited about him. And so he's obviously like a YouTube star, and he was a great high school baseball player in Indiana. I saw him play down there once before. But the reality is that he is seemingly having his way, even in the minors. He's making it look easier than it should, and so. He's not going to make this team this year. He will not be on our roster at any point this season.
You don't think? Okay, you don't think
I don't see him cracking this roster in September, unless he just went. I don't even know where they're starting him necessarily. I'm guessing he's still going to be high A. If he's over in West Michigan, he's going to have the opportunity to advance to Erie this year, and then we'll see what happens. If they started him this year in Erie, that might be a different story. I don't think that's happening. They haven't said yet where he's going to start, but he needs to have a really good year this year. So if he goes to high A, makes his way to Erie by the end of the year, then we're talking about him competing for an outside shot at a roster in 2026. More than likely, when you see prognostications about Max Clark, it is late 2026, early 2027 for Major League roster. But we'll see what happens. He can prove everybody wrong, and if he continues to run, hit, and field the way he has been, he could prove us wrong.
Yeah. When he starts, would he be center field?
Yeah, I think that's the spot for him, And they've talked about some long-term opportunities, what about Parker Meadows and stuff? It's we'll figure that out when it comes. Again, you put him where he's most comfortable right now. That seems to be where he's most comfortable. He flies around out there. It's hard for me to picture somebody taking Parker Meadows' job because, man, those long legs, and he covers so much ground in center. But hey, there's worse things to have to worry about than having too many outfield prospects. You know. So if we have an outfield in a couple of years of Meadows, Green, and Max Clark, sign me up.
Yeah. So you told me this a couple weeks ago that Kerry Carpenter's time with the Tigers coming to an end. You said that. So, would you be okay with a Kerry and Jahan platoon at DH?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't think his time's coming to an end.
Okay.
I think like the question is, have we seen the ceiling of what Kerry Carpenter offers? If you have a guy that just can't hit lefties, like how much can you really depend on him as an everyday starter? If they're like literally having a pinch hit for him anytime a lefty reliever comes in, like you want those guys. And so when I love Kerry Carpenter, so I want him to do well, and I think he could have the potential for a really good season this year. He's super dependable. Like, you don't worry about him. He doesn't swing at bad pitches. I think he's a solid major league player. The question is, like, how can you be that young and be already a DH? You know, it takes away a lot of flexibility from your roster long term. You know, and so, again, we're going to see that with Torkelson, too. But I think Torkelson could be back to our everyday first baseman by next year. You know, I think Keith could go back to second. I mean, Torres is not – he's a one-year deal. You know, and so let's see what happens. They're just trying to bide some time and make sure they had a competitive roster again this year after coming off a playoff year. So the Torres signing made sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean Keith is our first baseman for the next 10 years.
I don't. Yeah, I think this is last year because I don't think we get Torres back. I think his defense is so bad.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like he's filling a need right now. Like they had to push Torkelson. They had to do something different than what we did last year. We couldn't go into this off season with an infield that was Torkelson, Keith, Baez, and Jace Young. We couldn't do it. And so they had to make some upgrades. They tried to make 2 upgrades. They only got 1 upgrade. And let's see what happens. And let's see how these guys develop. And let's hope Torkelson pushes Torres out of a job. Like that, that's the best case scenario. Otherwise, we're back to the drawing board next off season, which is not a great free agent crop next year if you started to look ahead. It's
for first base or just in general?
Just in general. Yeah. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I do not want Tarek Skubal on that free agent. We have to lock him up now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's going to be annoying because he's a Scott Boras client. But, yeah. But I have a friend who's a Cubs fan, and he's not excited for Tucker because, obviously he's just, 1-year deal probably. Right. And you gave Cam Smith away, he looks really good.
He's looked really good.
And that's going to be, like, Astros, can't believe they get guys like this every year. It's insane. Obviously, I'm not actually an Astros fan. I'm just wearing it. But, yeah, with Altuve, they got Correa drafted, Bergman. That's where we should go next. What are your thoughts on Alex Bergman?
I'm glad the Tigers didn't give him that contract. That's not the contract I wanted. He's the 4th highest paid player in Major League Baseball this year.
That can't happen.
And so, and I understand it's billionaires paying millionaires, and it's not my money, and so who cares? The reality is, I want a contract that makes sense, especially when we're going to have to sign Skubal. You can't sign him to that contract and then give Skubal less.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, like, they had to set themselves up for long term. Yeah, I wanted Bergman. Everybody wanted Bergman. Like, we need a right-handed bat, and that was a position of need. He would have been an upgrade over Jace Jung, and Jace Jung could have gone to the minors and then developed to be our second baseman. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, there's options there. But I'm glad they didn't give him that contract. I would not feel good about that if we're staring at a $40 million contract for Bergman today. So
I feel like Tiger fans would not have liked him because he's not like a 40 home run guy. He would give you like 15 at Comerica, I think.
And he's
something like that.
He's a 275 batter, which is great. Like, that's something you want. Like, I would love to have him on our 3-hole this year. Yeah. Like, he'd be a great 3-hole hitter for us. And he'd be a guy that could start every single game, which we don't necessarily have at third base. We don't necessarily have that anywhere in our infield right now outside of Colt Keith, maybe.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot of guys that we're looking to move around, but at the same time, not for that money. So I'm okay that they passed.
I wanted him badly, but like.
So did I.
There was a few people that I knew did not want him, but like that right hand bat's just too good for, especially the left hand. Like, we have so many lefties. That's the only problem. But where do you see all of our bench guys right now? Like, what do you think the bench is right now?
Well, McKinstry's going to be there on the bench. I think, like I said, I think Jahan's going to be there. And it just depends on these injuries. So we're going to have to wait and see the next couple of weeks what happens. Dingler's going to be there, and I think that's That's going to be interesting to watch this year, because we got some catchers coming up.
Yeah.
Dingler did not really do much with his opportunity last year, and so, like catcher is a position that the Tigers are going to have to do better at this year, and so like. Defensively, we're fine, but we're not great defensively. So, we need to get some offense. If you're not getting defense out of your catcher, you better get some offense. And we don't have a lot of home runs that come out of our catcher position right now.
Not yet, but Lorenzo looks strong, so he can.
That could go down as one of the greatest trades in Tigers history.
I know, that's insane.
Yeah,
our starting shortstop and our potential starting catcher.
Yeah,
for a guy we get back in a year.
Yeah, and that's the dream that every team has. Like, oh, let's trade him and we can sign him again this offseason. And it never happens.
Yeah, that's why I wanted Lorenzen. That's what I wanted him. Yeah. We got Flaherty back. But they got their World Series. He was a huge part of that. He wasn't great in the playoffs, but they needed depth, and he was one of their only 3 starting pitchers that they used. So, yeah, it was kind of a win-win right now. But look back, the Matthew Stafford trade. Kind of the same, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll look back on how good it is for us.
The Matthew Stafford trade is a trade that, that's the rare trade where both teams feel like they got what they wanted. They won a Super Bowl. I would trade anything for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They got their Super Bowl, and we got our, picks and our franchise quarterback now. And so that trade worked out for both teams. The Dodgers trade really worked out just for us.
Yeah.
And they won the, they got their title and all, but the reality is, we got the better end of that deal, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go off of Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. What are your thoughts on Jared Goff? I heard a bunch of fans saying he's bad in the playoffs. Dude, Jared Goff is our quarterback for the next 3-4 years.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. They were getting mad at Jared Goff and saying we should have someone else. I'm like, who else would you want? You want Hendon Hooker playing your quarterback?
Hooker's not going to be quarterback. Our next quarterback after Goff is going to be free agent. Because by the time Goff is done, hopefully we're still good and we're not going to be in the top end of the draft, and that's the only place you can find your next quarterback. So, the reality is that that's our guy. He's, like you said, he's here for the next 3 or 4 years at least. If the Lions ever win a Super Bowl, they'll build a statue of him.
Definitely.
that. That's the sort of career opportunities he has. He has a chance to go down as what will be remembered as the greatest Lions quarterback of all time, which is wild to think about. Right now, greatest Lions quarterback, at least in my lifetime, is Matthew Stafford. And Goff wins the Super Bowl, and then he becomes that greatest quarterback in our lifetime. So we'll see what happens, but there's nowhere else to go. There's no other options, and we're not going to see anything different.
That's good. That is good. So I think that's all right now. You got something?
Let's see. Yeah, let me quiz you here a little bit, Shawnee boy.
Alrighty.
Okay. So what is the position that the Tigers have had a different starter on opening day for 7 consecutive years?
Okay, shortstop, not Baez. Third base could be, but I feel like in the 7 years. So Nick Castellanos, 7 years, he probably was there. First base. No. Tork. Brandon Dixon. Could be first. No, I feel like Tork's been there the last 2
Dixon's
years.
never started at first base on opening day.
He
had a season where he had the most starts at first base for us, which is really awful. Or he led us in home runs that one season, 14 home runs. So
honestly, it could be catcher because Grayson Griner, and I'm not sure if James McCann is in that 7 year. I don't think so. But Jake Rogers and last year, the year before that, 23. Erod. It was the White Sox. I think Rogers still started that. So no. Center field, Meadows. It was a lefty last year, but it was probably still Meadows. So it's Meadows, and then it was Jacoby Jones. So left field last year, I don't know who started because Kerry was a lefty. It was Riley Green. Never mind. Wait, Riley Green. So it could be 23 left fielder. Was left fielder last year. Wait. It was Riley Green always in center. Austin Meadows. Oh. Wait, it could be Austin Meadows. I'm thinking left field right now. Because then I think Brandon Dixon probably left field. I'm not sure if he started ever on opening day.
He did not. He did not.
Okay. And then, okay, let's just think. Right field? No. Because, yeah, Austin Meadows. Where did Meadows play? He played, like, right field, I want to say. Or left field. Because he wasn't great defense. No, it was left field. Because remember, that's when we played the Rays. Honestly, I'm thinking left field right now. I think, yeah, final answer left field.
It is not left field. So here's our last 7 starters in left field. We had Riley Green, obviously. Then we did have Meadows and Meadows.
Okay.
We had the brother. And then Robbie Grossman. Then we had 2 straight years of Kristen Stewart.
Oh.
And then Mikey Matuk.
I love Matuk.
Center field, we had the other Meadows, and then Green, Akil Badu. Then you said Jacoby Jones. We had a couple years at Jacoby Jones, and then another year of Mikey Matuk. And then we had a year of Martin as well. So the base stealing Lenois Martin.
Yeah.
Right field, Vierling, Grossman, Reyes, Mabin, and 2 years of Nick Castellanos.
Okay.
Pitcher, obviously, Skubal, Erod, Boyd, Zimmerman. DH.
Hey, he almost had a no-hitter that game.
Who started at DH for us last year?
Ibanez, I think.
No.
It wasn't? Oh. So it was against Crochet, so it was a lefty.
It was the guy that we traded away at the deadline.
Wait, this year's deadline?
Yeah.
Carson Kelly. That's crazy.
No.
Wait, it's not Kelly?
No.
We traded somebody else?
We traded a couple guys, dude. You gotta remember, we traded.
Oh yeah, we traded a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Marcana.
Yes. Yeah, because we had Canna, then we had Miggy, then we had Nomar Mazzaro. You remember that? There's a name from the past.
I was so excited for him.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, let me try to guess the next
awful.
ones.
Shortstop.
Okay. I remember. Okay, Baez. I feel like it's Baez.
Correct.
Okay, then 2021. Oh, man. Is this Nico Goodrum or Willie Castro? Oh, man. Have I said it?
You have. It's one of those two.
It's Nico Goodrum.
It's not. It's Willie Castro.
Willie Castro?
But then the year before,
2020 was
Nico Goodrum. And then we had somebody else the year before Nico Goodrum. We
Gordon
had
Beckham?
No, that's a good guess, man. Jordy Mercer.
Him and Josh Harrison.
Yeah, then third base. What can you do at third base?
I feel like, was it Ibanez?
It was Ibanez.
Yeah, Ibanez.
And who was the year before him? It's a guy that we've talked about. No, we talked about him earlier.
23. This was in Tropicana, so...
That's impressive that you knew.
Nick Maton.
No, it was Ryan Kreidler.
Yeah,
Ryan Kreidler. And then we had 5 straight years of...
Third base.
Come on, 5 straight years of third base.
Third base. Wait, what? 22. Oh, Candelario.
Yes, there you go. Second base, we had last year was
Colt Keith.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we had 4 straight years of
second base. Why am I blanking? Second base. I feel like this is obvious.
It is.
He's Baez. Double play mate.
This is the guy that we ended up cutting.
Second base? What?
Jonathan Scope.
Oh, dude. I loved him.
Then we had Harrison, and we had 1 year of Dixon Machado.
With Iglesias.
Yes.
That was funny.
And then first base, we've had a lot of Tork.
Bunch of Torks.
We had Miggy in 2021, and then we had a one-off in 2020 before like 8 straight years of
CJ Cron.
CJ Cron, good job. And then the position for the last 7 years, it was catcher.
So it was Jake Rogers. 2023 was...
Come on, you should know this one.
Eric Haas.
Yes.
22.
2020.
Tucker Barnhart.
Wow.
Eric Haas pitch hit home run.
Nice pull.
21. Wilson Ramos.
Yeah.
2020 was Austin Romine.
Wow.
2019 was Grayson Griner.
Yeah. Dude, I'm looking. I was looking to see if you had a list there. That was that was an impressive run.
Thank
well
you.
done, Shawnee.
Wilson Ramos.
Yeah. So we'll see. That is not not a lineup of guys that I love to see. When I look back at some of these opening day rosters, I'm like, oh, that's so gross. Years of, in 1 year we had, our opening day lineup from 2019 was Grayson Griner catcher. We had Harrison at second, Candelario at third, Jordy Mercer at shortstop, Kristen Stewart in left, Mikey Matuk in center, and Nick Castellanos in right, with Nico Goodrum as our DH and Jordan Zimmerman on the mound. I'm like,
that was against the Blue Jays.
That is such a foul lineup.
Dude.
But they won that game 2-0
in the in 10th inning.
Okay.
Christian Stewart home run.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's how far we've come this year. Actually having legit major league players in our lineup. So it's
Dude, that's crazy.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and Cy Young pitchers starting. And this kind of reminds me of the Lions from 2 years ago playing the champions.
Yeah.
So I could see us going to the championship then in that case.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, against the Yankees.
Hey, I'll give you one more baseball thing, and then you can we can be done. But so I've seen this floating around TikTok a little bit that they say that there's 7 ways to get on first base.
Oh, okay.
So I say that there's 8 ways to get on first base.
There's 8.
I say there's 8, and so again, you can post this on TikTok. We'll try to break TikTok because I think there's actually 8 ways you can end up on first base.
All right,
so what do you got?
Oh, okay. Walk.
Hit
by pitch.
2.
Hit.
3.
Walk. No, I saw that. Yeah, I said intentional walk too. Catcher's interference.
That's a tough one, yeah.
And we got, what could it be called? Air.
Yep.
Is fielder's choice the same?
Yeah, you can go fielder's choice.
Okay. So then we got. What we got? How do you get on? What could it be? I'm at how much am I?
So you've gotten hit, you got walk, you got fielder's choice, you got air, you got hit by pitch, you got catcher's interference. There is also, 2 other ways. You have the drop third.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
drop third, a strikeout, getting to first base, which some would say that counts as an error. You have a fielder's interference, which some people would say fielder's interference. And the one that I think is always the most creative way that never makes a list is by a dropped sacrifice fly. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A drop sacrifice fly, because, if you can be like, oh, that's reach on air. No, because if you reach on air, that counts as an 0 for 1 in your box score. If you hit a ground ball to short, he drops it, you get on first base. Sorry, Kevin Nimmo. Kevin Nimmo doesn't agree. He thinks that should count as a hit.
Really?
Yeah. So, Kevin Nimmo, if you're watching this, that should not count as a hit, right? That should count as an error. Yeah. So, but if you hit a fly ball to center and the center fielder drops it and the guy scores, it's a sacrifice fly in the box score, but you still end up on first base. So you get an 0 for 0. You don't get an 0 for 1. And so
it's not an error.
It still counts as an error for the fielder, but doesn't count as a reach on error. It counts as a sacrifice fly. So anyhow, but you did a good job there, man. You did a good job.
Thank you. Hey.
Well, thanks for having me on this episode, man.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe.
See ya.
Yeah. Thank you. Woo.